Hey, wonderful people, I see plasma is in the news. Plasma is today's UAP answer. Great, I've been saying that for a while, but I still get the same questions. The two questions which people genuinely want to know is, does plasma reflect radar? And how do you make a 3D object? Now, I'm going to show you three clips today. One from Jacques Vallée, one from this guy from DARPA, and one from Avi Loeb. Avi just about explains it, and then his mind goes off and he changes the subject. And that's to answer, how does a plasma draw an object? Here's my rock. Draw a 3D object that looks real in the sky? Well, the answer is simple, but the answer, I think, it's almost been forgotten. You know how people say that cursive writing will be the code that us old people will use to confuse the young because they won't be able to read cursive writing? Well, I think the plasma technology has a cursive writing code about it because it uses these. Yeah, an old TV and this, a projector, using persistence of vision, flicker rate. And Avi touches it. Listen to this.
So if, for example, you mentioned there are these lasers potentially fooling people, if you were to see a plasma acting in a what seemed to be a controlled way, how would you be able to differentiate between it being a laser or something genuinely not of this earth?
So if you have a high frame rate, you can tell that, there is a spot at one point and then it goes away and then another spot is created at another point, but it's not an object moving through the sky from one spot to another. You would be able to tell that it's two different occurrences, two explosions that were created, presumably with a laser.
Right, stop. Thanks, Avi. You've just mentioned the key, but then you went off. The point is frame rate. If you could look at a plasma visualization that is being drawn by man and isn't an alien technology, you would see, and he didn't finish his sentence, he didn't finish quite his thoughts, you would see the dot, the plasma dot, being there and there and there and there. That's what he meant. It's going to be a raster system. The focus of the lasers drawing the object is going to go and eventually draw this whole object incredibly quickly. And because it's in space, they can draw dots further away and closer. So you make a volumetric 3D object of tiny little ionized gas bubbles of plasma. And that's what you can buy today as countermeasures for your stealth bomber. The new stealth bomber can project a complete mirror image of itself, maybe lots. Loyal wingman, and you'll hear that term from the RAF all the time. These are fake phantom aircraft or unmanned drones that can protect the one manned aircraft in this swarm that confuses the enemy. So let me talk briefly about plasma and radar. And really, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I think there's a clue in what I've read and the research. Plasma does reflect radar really badly. That's what I think they saw at the Nimitz Tic Tac and Go Fast. They saw a weak signature because it was a man-made visualization. But here's the key. You know a stealth bomber? A stealth bomber's cross-section can be the same as a bumblebee. It reflects radar really, badly, just as plasma. The plasma visualization on radar is the same as the real stealth aircraft stealth technology. So a radar looking for a stealth aircraft will see plasma as the same size, meaning both could be real aircraft. Do you get that? That's my way of understanding it. So let's look at these three clips again and see how plasma visualization and the whole future of unmanned, fake, phantom warfare is really a thing of today, not the future.
There's technology that, this is out of Japan. This is a company that's doing a three-dimensional television which you can touch. So I was going to show you a short clip or movie, but I couldn't get it on my presentation. But this is a finger touching a femtometer. It's 1 × 10⁻15 guided lasers that, when they intersect, they create these glowing dots, and they can make it into all sorts of shapes and stuff. And the reason I bring this up is because this technology has been around far longer than, again, civilians know about. And it's a way that the Air Force is creating orbs in the sky, many orbs, through intersection of these high-powered lasers. Now, you can't see the lasers because they're out of our visual range, but where they intersect, they'll create a glowing ball. Now, that's great for Air Force because you're ionizing the air, and that creates a radar deflection. So you can, for your enemy, you can make it look like entire fleets are about to approach and bomb and whatnot. It's all an illusion.
Could the UFO phenomenon be manipulating us? Could it be a teaching system of some sort? Perhaps something that we are creating ourselves, perhaps a series of images that we are projecting. I think Carl Jung came very close to expressing that idea in one of his books. Or could it be manipulated purposely by people who have the technology to simulate UFO sightings? And people say, well, of course not. Who would do a thing like that? Well, I would remind you that during the Watergate investigation, it was discovered that there was a plan originated in the White House to surface a submarine off the coast of Cuba and paint the second coming of Christ over the island of Cuba using holograms. Which is well within our technology today. The idea was that since there is a large Catholic population in Cuba, they would be so upset by this vision that this would saturate the communication channels, the telephone system in Cuba, long enough for an invasion to take place.
How interesting. I never heard of that.
Well, I think that's a classic in psychological warfare, but that kind of manipulation is well understood, and I have personally investigated several apparently genuine UFO cases where there was, in fact, a manipulation. My conclusion, the conclusion of scientists working with me, was that there was, in fact, a manipulation taking place, and that it was not a hoax on the part of the witnesses, but a hoax on the part of somebody much better organized than...
So what does this all mean? I don't really know. I do know that this research is being done at universities all over the world. Plasma is important. But I'd like to make this statement, and it came from Richard Thompson, a Patreon and a very talented researcher. And Richard suggests I say this to you. To appease those who think that I'm trying to debunk anomalous aerial events, what I'm really presenting is the equivalent of describing the very first aircraft. And what I'm not trying to say is that birds never existed. The truth is out there.